This $5 stock will skyrocket in a few days. The company is SLDP, Solid Power SLDP, and they are a battery stock. They had $5 million in revenue. They have a grant from the Department of Energy, and they do have a collaboration with BMW as well. So, and Samsung. It's a tiny company. $5 million is not a lot of revenue, but they do have that collaboration that allows them to get licensing money from BMW as they use their batteries, solid state batteries. It's a very exciting real world application. Electric vehicles is growing, even though it's slowly growing in terms of cars that aren't Teslas. But SLDP is leveling out. It looks interesting at the current level. EOS Energy is another battery storage company that's sort of in the same bucket has been doing well, recently leveled out. There's sort of sympathies to each other, so it's good to look at both of them. SanDisk is also interesting. It's a memory company, and they had S&P inclusion on Friday, so it didn't move on that day, the day after Thanksgiving. That's not totally surprising. Palantir didn't really move on its S&P inclusion. Can be kind of a sell the news event. But interestingly, SanDisk was pulling back, and so shorts might still be in there, and they could get squeezed on Monday. There can be buying on Monday. Not every stock goes up on Monday. I'm just saying over the weekend, particularly on slightly smaller companies, which is maybe more applicable to Solid Power than to SanDisk, but these companies can go up. So that's SanDisk. It's a spinoff from Western Digital as of early 2025. This is not financial advice, but I hope these ideas help.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
Okay, so here's Solid Power. It's leveling off here. Here's that S&P inclusion. Lack of move. It didn't really move at all. If I remember correctly, Palantir S&P inclusion was here, and it sold off somewhere around there in mid-August. We can verify that, but I don't think we really need to. The point is, SLDP is at an interesting level because it has this left side peak here, and you might be like, left side peak, whatever. It's like, well, it kind of matters because look at what happened when it broke through there the first time. It's basically everyone sees this on the prior price agreement of $5, and then when it got there, everyone said it's worth more than that. So if it can hold above that, which it looks like it is, that's a really great level to risk off of. If it goes below there, people are going to freak out and say, oh God, it's not worth that amount. So it's a pivot level, right? It's a decision point for a lot of investors, and got to follow the herd sometimes. SNDK, this is why this company's been shorted, because it went up a crazy amount. It was a $40 stock and it became a $300 stock, almost 500%. So did have that S&P inclusion and pretty serious selling volume, but actually the price didn't go down much. So some short covering or buying as well into that S&P inclusion event, which stock didn't go up. So we'll see what happens, but there could definitely be a squeeze here, which doesn't look like much, even if it just squeezed up to the top of this candle, which was a big down candle. And this was the down day in the SPY as well, on November 20th. That would still be 15%, which is pretty crazy for a potential move in one day. I mean, we'll see what happens, but if we look at the other memory stocks, WDC is just marching up. Micron is just marching up. So Seagate, same thing. So there's no reason SanDisk can't recover some like its fellow company. So EOS Energy, another battery storage company. AMPX is maybe the closer company to SLDP. I keep saying pay for some reason because it's like SNDK. SLDP, sorry. It looks a lot like AMPX as well. bunch of chop, and then a little bottoming out. So the great thing when a company basically does nothing for 5 days on a stock chart is you can risk 50 cents and make $5. Conceivably, right? $5 is actually a lot, and 50 cents is not what I meant to say. I actually meant more like 10 cents. This is at like 5 or 5.10. So 10 cents and then make $1. That's more like what I'm trying to say. So even if this only goes up to this, say, 20-day moving average, that's still 15%. So there are some serious moves, and there's plenty of liquidity here. $20 million. So you could put 200K in there without moving it at all. There's that S&P inclusion news on SanDisk. And then for SLDP, there's that $5 million of revenue. So this is SLDP, relatively new company. Just, it's about $1 billion company. So just barely big enough where you can feel safe buying it. You don't want to feel too safe. They can sell shares into the market. And they use that ATM to sell shares. At 388, and they sold 30 million back in the end of September at 388. So after a big move up in the markets, SLDP actually didn't go anywhere, and 388 was at the market. So where the stock price traded, right somewhere in here is 388, and then a few days later or whenever they have to report, maybe 48 hours, they reported that they sold all those shares. After which, company had a big move up, and you can see it's pretty unaffected by the market, uncorrelated to the market. So for that reason, I think it's interesting right now, as the SPY has just gone on a big run the last 5 days. SLDP has gone sideways. So on 1010, SLDP didn't get ruined at all. It held up here, and then on earnings it sold off. But this 1020 day, it did sell off significantly, but not a crazy amount. I mean, you can see this day was bigger than this day. And on the SPY, nothing happened here. SPY was actually just chopping around upwardly in general. SPY definitely went down a little there, but not a crazy amount. Sorry, I shouldn't zoom in so much. But right in here, the SPY, I'll literally just look at it just to make this less confusing. This is the day I was worried about. So it did sell off a little, but not a crazy amount. So anyway, that's what's going on. And on a broader level, you basically can't buy, in my opinion, the Mag 7 right now. Maybe you can buy Apple. That's about it. Apple just broke out its all-time highs, though. Well, just barely. Yeah, I guess you can still buy Apple. Apple's still interesting because these days weren't like crazy big, even though they're all green. And Apple looked like it was breaking out anyway, even without the market necessarily. Well, if the market hadn't gone up, Apple might have just gone sideways. So AMD, like, you're not going to buy... Well, actually, AMD, maybe you could because it had this gap down. I'm just coming up with the worst examples right now. What did I say? Mag 7. Okay, so Mag 7. Are you going to buy Microsoft? Probably not. Right now, it just recovered here. Maybe it'll grind up, but probably not. It'll just go sideways, most likely. Tesla, are you going to buy that after it just went up? And this was a red day, but it gapped up. So like 4 or 5 days in a row. Probably not on Monday. Maybe it'll have a big Monday. Amazon, are you going to buy that? Probably not. No, this doesn't look like much. This is 8% in pretty much the last week and Friday. So that's really all I'm saying. You can't buy Google up here either, in my opinion, until it goes sideways. So you have to kind of be discerning and looking through. I can show you what I've got going on here for a watch list. I mean, we can go through individual sectors. I kind of just did that in a recent video. I don't want to talk a lot about pharmaceutical companies or biotech companies because they can have big surprise events like QURE or NTRA. Nope, I always get that wrong, NTLA. But the pharmaceutical ETF, PPH, is doing great, but just because something is doing great doesn't mean you want to buy it, right? Like if you thought gold was doing great over here and you bought it, well, you you lost 10% or something, right? So I don't know if you want to buy pharmaceuticals up here. This one, INDV, looks like it could break out at some point. It's just really slow. It's actually not that slow, 4% a day, but it's just sort of grinding. They're just harder to predict, pharmaceuticals. Wayfair retail is doing interestingly. Kohl's is sort of interesting as a high volume clothes, that's funny, level. Here's that high volume. So right here would be the close. So at 22.3 would probably be what you wanted to risk. But you could risk up here. More likely it's going to pull back. So hopefully you'll get a chance to risk that. So maybe to keep that on your back burner as well if you're interested in that. God, I'm so out of practice. I don't know the other retail stocks right now. And I can't even remember the ETF. Is it XLP? Consumer staples? Something like that. So you can take a look at these ETFs. I don't know if you use consumer discretionary. Sounds pretty retail-y. You can use these, not with the I though. Anyway, these ETFs do help. I don't know what chart software you use, but it helps to be able to see what the group's doing. Utilities, for example, it does help. So let's try with utilities. So utilities on the 25th, right? And so I can go up to utilities up here, somewhere in here, electric utilities. So right now, okay, so let's look at utilities right now. Right now, do you want to buy utilities? Probably not, right? It just went up 4 days in a row. Okay, this was a pullback, but it still gapped up, so whatever. Of course, the whole market went up 4 days in a row. But on the 25th, or 21st even, somewhere in here, 25th would be last resort, last chance. Was utilities interesting? Sure. I mean, they all went up the next 2 days, right? So it was interesting. Maybe not in Oklo, because that's a tiny company. This is not a good example. But it is in the utilities bucket. NRG, definitely interesting. A change of behavior. A reversal. I'm not going to draw lines because I'm just making them up, right? This is a ridiculous line to draw on because this candle is so big. But this is such a massive base. What's happened in the last few days is not even relevant at all. But CEG, definitely interesting in the last few days. It's just challenging right now because the SPY went up 5 days in a row. So it's probably going to pull back a little bit. I know I've been saying that over and over again. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, but let's look at another one. XLI would be industrials. So might have just set myself up for failure here, but if we... God, I hate this thinkorswim. You can't even look at what you're looking at. You have to just click through without seeing it. But some of these chemicals names, for example, you can't really buy these either because they just went up 4 days in a row. DuPont, ALB, this materials name. It's great. It went up, but you kind of have to, at a time like this, it's very hard. It's very hard. Because the ones that went sideways right now, that would be relative weakness to the market, right? So even though sideways is good news, I mean, INDV basically went sideways. Wayfair definitely went up. That doesn't count. MPC. This may be the best of both worlds because it did go sideways a little bit and went up a little bit. Of course, then it's in no man's land. So there's just so many factors, nuances that are very visual in nature. So if you're not a visual person, then you're probably scratching your head right now saying you're just searching for meaning and where there is none. But NTRA, it's up too much. So it's up like 20%. So this is probably going to pull back, even though it's nice that it created a shelf. But there's all the relative weakness to the market, which went up the last 4 days. BKTX went up 4 days. It's also a biotech, so I'm not stoked about that. TEM is maybe interesting, but it's a kind of a bounce, and it could roll over at this spot. probably, go down before it goes up if it does. That would be best case scenario. Lebu is a triple leverage ETF on biotech, so that'll probably cool off a little bit. But you know what? That's probably way much investigation. If you want, me to dive into individual stocks and, pretend to analyze them fundamentally, which I kind of do to some extent, it does help to hear that they have some, U.S. Department of Energy grants, or, how the earnings are guiding the sales. Earnings is just profit. So there's revenue, and there's rarely like revenue and profit, but it's called earnings and sales, or sales and earnings respectively to revenue and profit. And then guidance is if they think it's going to go up or much up next time, or how much it's going to increase. If they think they're going to do well compared to how they're doing right now. I don't want to overcomplicate it, but I can if you guys want me to, is all I'm saying. So hope that helps. If you like these ideas, hit that like button. And if you want a free course on how to buy stocks before they go up, hit that subscribe. I'll post that once a month for subscribers. We're on the road to 2,000 subscribers. I don't think we, get anointed by God or anything, but it's something. And if you want to check out that stockscommunity.com, there's a $19 Cyber Monday deal. So could change your life. Try it out for 7 days. I'll see you in the next one.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.